All right, so really nothing new with the fatal accident, but there was, I can give out the name of the passenger in the Sebring. His last name, I'll spell it, it's Niyonkuru. His first is Pascal, Pascal, no middle name, he's 20 from Sioux Falls. The traffic investigators are still working on reconstructing it, trying to figure out exactly what took place, what led up to it. One of the things I looked at on the accident report, it doesn't note if anybody was wearing seatbelts. It says unknown, so I think that'll probably be part of the thing when they reconstruct it, looking, because I'm guessing the fire probably cut the seatbelts off if they were used. But that's one of the things, at least early on, they didn't have any indication, so I can't confirm that anybody was or was not wearing seatbelts. The other thing that's popped up is, I guess, maybe a theory about racing. Certainly everybody's heard cars and motorcycles racing around Sioux Falls for several years now. The one nice thing about having traffic cameras is since it captured this, we didn't have any other evidence of any other vehicles involved. We just had the two. So it didn't appear that there was any racing. I did talk with the investigator yesterday, and he was able to talk to a different witness that was at Arrowhead and Sycamore waiting to make a turn and saw the Subaru driving past at an extremely high rate of speed as well. So it was just the one car. Again, with that, we didn't have any other indication there was any type of racing that was taking place. But they're still working on that, so no charges. I don't have any updates on the driver of the Subaru. Haven't heard any update of his condition.
You guys are looking for people to come forward with
Yeah, you know, I think there's probably still a few people that were there or close by there. You know, immediately after the crash, there were some other cars that drove through that didn't stop, so there's probably a good chance that they may have saw something as well. We just want those people. They're not in any trouble or anything like that. We just want to be able to talk to them to find out what they saw, what took place, and again, the overall goal is to try to piece together what took place before the crash and make sure that we have everything accounted for.
Where were these cars again? You mentioned, you said there were other cars in the vicinity. Were they like on that intersection driving?
I believe they were driving on Arrowhead Parkway. So I think it was right after the accident that they drove through. There were some people that stopped and some people just continued driving. But if they were going that same direction, there's probably a good chance they saw that car driving at a high rate of speed. So that's really what we're looking for, is just to find out what they saw. Even if they were driving in that area and didn't see anything, we'd still like to talk to them. And so that's why we're just trying to track them down and ask that they call police. Yeah, as far as we've been able to tell so far, that was the only vehicle driving at a high rate of speed, but it was just the Subaru. So we don't have, like I said, that's partly why we want to talk to these other people, because maybe there was something that didn't get captured on camera, but they saw something. And so all the indications we have right now was it was just the Subaru by itself. There were no other vehicles that were speeding or chasing or racing, anything like that. But again, we want to talk to those witnesses to find out what they saw. I didn't hear of any reports beforehand about speeding or reckless driving. You know, that'll be something that the investigators will look at as well. But at least early on so far this part, I don't recall hearing any of the reports about that.
Also, I saw there was, I guess, a tweet out from Sioux Falls PD about drones being used in that area today at 1 p.m. Is that related to that crash?
They'll be doing some mapping, yeah, but that's what they're doing out there. Anytime we use they don't like calling them drones, but the unmanned aerial vehicles, they always announce that on our Twitter and Facebook, just to basically for the transparency, just to make sure that we're letting everybody know every time they're used. But we've got the traffic investigators. They've got some different equipment to map scenes, and so they'll be looking at different points where vehicles were. There's a lot of details that they're looking at. The drone is also used in that instance to get obviously a good aerial view of that area where the the crash took place. So it's all related to that investigation into the crash.
What's the general timeframe for kind of reconstructing crimes like this?
The time frame for reconstructing, they're all different. I mean, I've never been involved in that. I've heard them talking about that stuff. Some of them are fairly straightforward. If you've got a bigger crash with higher speeds, that complicates things, but it's really physics and math. That's basically the bulk of it. And so mapping is a very important part of that. They'll be able to determine known spots from like where the crash happened, where the vehicles ended up. They look at the damage done to the vehicles, the distance that they moved, the pieces that flew off, how far they went. I mean, there's a lot of little things that they're looking at. And so, I mean, the reconstructions, for a simple one, like a car, pedestrian, something like that, there's not a lot of debris, there's not a lot of things to map. Something like that may just take a few days. If you've got other ones, it may take several weeks. They're all different. That's the short answer for you. But anything else with that? Okay.
So how old was that one passenger one time saying?
What's that?
How old was that passenger?
The passenger, excuse me, the passenger in the Sebring is 20.
That's right.
Yep. On the log, the only thing that I really have is a guy that was arrested for vandalism. It sounds simple enough, but he broke out. He was using rocks and throwing rocks through windows. Quite a few buildings, quite a few cars. It was around 7 p.m. last night. I'm not sure which direction he started, but he broke out 2 windows at the banquet, 2 windows at Bishop Dudley House. There was a bus that was stopped near 10th and Franklin. He threw rocks at the bus, cracked the windshield on that one. There were some windows at the Arch that he broke. There were cars that were parked by the Washington Pavilion. 2 different cars had windows broken with rocks. There was another car parked at the First Lutheran Church, and then the First Lutheran Church also had a glass door broken with rocks. So we had people that witnessed it. They were able to give a description. I think he was probably going from west to east, but we had an officer that found him near 6th and Franklin. He tried to run but was caught near Heritage Park, and so he was arrested for basically intentional damage to property. We had 3 felony counts of intentional damage to property, 3 misdemeanor counts of intentional damage to property, and then a failure to vacate charge as well. And didn't really give any reason why. I didn't see anything in the report about any drugs or alcohol use, so I don't know if that was a factor or not.
Was he on foot or just walking?
He was walking, yeah.
So he was just grabbing rocks off the road?
Yeah, and it doesn't, the report doesn't say it, so I don't know if he was picking up, if they were landscaping rocks or if they were rocks that he picked up that he had with him. I guess we don't have that information. Do you want his name? Last name is Johnson, Johnsson. First is Elijah, Elijah. Middle is Jamal, Jamal. Excuse me. He's 27 and he's a transient in Sioux Falls.
How much damage do you think altogether was caused?
Oh, geez. It's a good question. I don't know if we have an idea of the amount of damage. The misdemeanor is less than $1,000, and this is a Class 6 felony, so it's between $1,000 and $2,500 damage. So I have to probably add that up. I didn't see the specific damage amounts listed in the report, but I mean, suffice to say, it's probably $4,000 or $5,000 at least.
What were his charges on the tank?
Intentional damage to property, there are 3 felony charges and 3 misdemeanor charges. I'm just kind of wade through the log. The aggravated assaults, one of them I don't have a report yet. The other was an unknown person, but somebody threw a brick at another person. No serious injuries, didn't need any hospitalization. So we're still trying to figure out who that person was. The burglaries, had a couple of storage units and a garage that were entered. Nothing big from the disorderlies. The embezzlement was a car that was loaned out. The family offenses, the only thing out of that, we had, I guess no crime took place, but there was an accident that happened at a daycare. Everything indicates that it was an accident, but we had a 3-year-old that was playing on the playground, and somehow there was a rope that got tangled around her neck. There was staff that ended up finding her. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance, so I don't have an update on a condition. This was in the 5300 block of South Solberg Avenue, and it was yesterday, probably about 4:30, somewhere in that time range. The frauds, credit cards, ID thefts, larcenies, nothing really big involved with those. Cell phones, shoes, a couple of them involved juveniles. Narcotics, no big quantities on those. The robbery, that was a report somebody made. They said they were robbed in St. Joseph, Missouri. The sex offenses all involved juveniles. Nothing big from the simple assaults. Nothing suspicious from the unattended death. And nothing big from the other vandalisms. That's all I have, unless you guys have anything else.
And the condition on that one girl, you said that.
The 3-year-old from the daycare, yeah, I don't have any update on condition. I'm not sure what it was. I know right away she was taken to the hospital, but that's all. That was about, the call came in about 4:25, so I'd say maybe a couple of minutes, 5 minutes before then, just kind of guessing.
That was yesterday, correct?
Yesterday afternoon, yep. Anything else? Okay, thank you.